Hi, warriors. Good evening. Happy. Is it Friday? This is what happens when you get laid off. You don't know what day it is anymore. Cheers. Um, anyway, so yeah, that's irrelevant. But yeah, I saw a video today that it was on Facebook and it was about it was showing all these people running in and out of Target like Hurricane Katrina style, just robbing Target of everything. And it wasn't like necessities. It wasn't like people are like, oh, I need baby formula and toilet paper. Like, there was actually a girl running out of the door with two lamps, like for her living room. And I was like, well, clearly that's not a necessity. Like, this is inappropriate. Um, so it was just, I don't know. I was just watching the video and honestly, like, I just got really sad. Like, I saw like comments on YouTube and people were like, you know, people are going to be upset. It's like an upsetting thing to see. Um, but I just got like really sad that people are doing stuff like that. It's in Minnesota, I guess, where that crime occurred, um, with that police officer. And you'll have to excuse my ignorance. I don't have cable, so I'm a tiny disconnected. I did hear about it, but I didn't watch it. So I know like horrific things like that are horrible, and I just pray to God that they get better and people's hearts, get more loving and more kind. And that's how I deal with it because I don't know how else. I don't know a better way. Um, that's where I go. But anyway, I saw that today and I don't know, prayed, um, I just prayed that, for more love and kindness. And honestly, I prayed to God that, to like, to forgive me for like the things that I had been sinning about, because I felt like it would be so easy to judge all of these people like so quickly for being so awful, because it's so like in your face and so terrible. And it was so tempting to judge them right away. But anyway, so yeah, but in this video, I just I've been talking so much about like independence and mental health, and one of the things that I like chronologically that kind of made sense for me to go ahead and discuss was um, this really neat event that kind of occurred in my life. And I I was kind of like I guess I was getting more like brave, you could say, because obviously I was, if you watch my previous videos, like I was having I was having so many seizures, and like the story, it's horrible, like you know blah blah blah. I was having like so many seizures, um, and I was definitely getting better. There was more control. I was living like a better lifestyle. The doctors were figuring out better medications for me. So I was down, there was a point where I was having like insane amount of seizures, especially after the second car accident. But they had me down to probably like 8 to 10 a month, which was like so much better than where I had been. That was like awesome, awesome, awesome. From, it was just amazing. And I still, I still wasn't independent, as far as like driving and, running errands, and I didn't really have like a social life just at that point, but I was just like, I was kind of like itching to like, I was like so sick of it. So I just, one day I was just like, I'm gonna take a vacation. I want to see like if I can just handle myself out in the world. But like obviously like, I can't like in, you know, where I live in Tampa, you have to have a car to get around. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna wait for the bus. Like the bus system in Tampa and Hillsborough and Pasco County, like please take note of this Hillsborough Pasco transportation system. Like there's improvements, there's room for improvement. It shouldn't take 2 hours to get like where it should take 30 minutes a car as opposed to taking a bus. That's great. Um, anyway, so I was like, I'm gonna go somewhere where you can get around, like without needing a car, somewhere perfect for someone who has epilepsy. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Paris, all like total wackadoo. I always do that. I like totally go a little bit nutso. I just get these big crazy ideas. So that's, you know, so I was like, I'm leaving the country by myself for the first time, with full on epilepsy, um, uncontrolled. It was just the worst idea ever. Um, and my husband's looking at me and he's just like, okay, um, I don't really, I'm not really sure what he was saying. I think he just knew that I get these like ideas, and he was probably waiting for me to come back down to like a more reasonable plan because he knows me. So eventually I was like, I'll probably get murdered if I go to Paris by myself and like have a seizure in an alley somewhere, and that's not a good idea. So I changed it and I ended up going to New York City. Um, but what I did is I just grabbed a hotel in like the Upper West Side, and I got one of those necklaces, the necklaces for people with disabilities, and I had them engrave epilepsy on the other side of it. And I stayed on the Upper West Side just because I felt like a little bit more comfortable in that area. And plus, I love art. What I wanted to do made a lot of sense with that specific location. Um, so I was able to walk to like the Met Museum and the Guggenheim and, a couple restaurants. And the Met was cool because you can get a ticket to the Met. You can buy one ticket and you can go 3 times. And like I totally like did. I went there 3 times, like a total crazy person. Um, I went to the Guggenheim and I missed MoMA, the Modern Museum of Art, which was like wicked disappointing. But I went there and also, what was it called? That awful freezing random snowstorm all of a sudden that was invented, nor'easter. Nor'easter managed to come there as well. Just in, yeah. So we were there at the same time. It was like 19 degrees. But anyway, so yeah, what I did is like I got to a point where I was just so sick of being like just all afraid of like being, you know, inside my shell, and like I can't go outside and I can't be independent and I can't um do anything for myself. And so, instead of like dipping my toe in the water and being like, I'm gonna walk to Publix, I was like, I'm gonna jump on a plane and leave the state by myself. But, it was fine. Like, I went to like a super safe area, and I made sure that, everybody knew where I was and they had my itineraries. Um, so just in case something like had happened, like I would check in case, I could have gotten sick or had a seizure. They would have known that I wouldn't have been well. I had cards like in my pockets, in my purse, and on my phone that said, like, basically, like, I have epilepsy. Please call this person if I have a seizure. Um, I was basically like, could have been like, it was kind of embarrassing, okay? It was embarrassing. But I was like a crash dummy, like walking around, but I just I just didn't want to be, I just wanted to make sure in case something happened to me that, I was going to be able to be like recoverable, basically, lost and found. So yeah, that's what I did, and I went there for like a week or something like that. And obviously it was a very impermanent situation. When I come home, I'm not going to be able to take the metro anywhere or walk around and have all this independence and be able to like go buy food for myself because I live in the town of New York City, or the city of New York City rather. And it's an incredibly different ability, versus living in Tampa. But just having that experience and that kind of taste of independence, um, it just kind of gave me something that I was missing. It gave me like this confidence. So when I came home, I just had more like life in me and more confidence and like a little bit more light. And it was just something that I was missing. And it was definitely something that was good for me. And I mean, there was definitely a period of time after coming home that I was like, I am going to move to New York. Okay, no matter what happens, I'm going to move to New York. I'm going to figure out how to move to New York. I'm looking for jobs that are in New York City. We are moving to New York. I don't care what happens. We're getting to New York City. That's what's going to happen. Like I got a little bit obsessed with moving to New York City. So I can't guarantee that that won't happen to you, or like something like strange, won't happen. You won't develop this like super like syndrome for whatever experience you had, but it will definitely be like this great positive good thing that you get to take with you. And it feels good, and it wakes something up inside of you. And I definitely recommend it. And the cool thing is that it's something that you already had. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that, like, when I went to New York City, and I went to the grocery store, and I went to these museums, and I jumped on the metro, and I did all these things by myself, and talked to these people, and checked into the hotel, and went from the airport to the hotel, and jumped in these Ubers, and went all over this giant state by myself, alone. Like, I know I just said that was redundant, but I had this ability completely already by myself, but for some reason I had to go to this crazy place to figure that out. And it just, that's just what I had to do. But it's just, it's a good thing. And if that's something that you have to do to be able to like wake that up and figure that out, then I totally recommend it. And like, going back a little bit to mental health, I think it's like a great thing, and it's like a powerful thing, especially for people with epilepsy who lack so much independence. And this particular thing made me realize that obviously we lack a lot of independence, but the independence and the lack of independence is, a lot of it is in our mind. Because obviously, back to what I said, I did all those things in New York, but I could have done all of those things in Florida. I just don't, and I didn't. So that was just kind of like an interesting thing, and it just was something that just came alive in me, and it was a good thing. And you know, I just don't forget, even though like we lack a lot of ability to be independent, like there are a lot of things, even though we have epilepsy, that we can do. You know, we can go out and we can do things. We're just different. We have to accept our vulnerabilities. We have to accept that we could have a seizure, you know, or we have to, you know, wear a necklace that says I have epilepsy, or we have to put something on our phone that says please call this person. We have to just take these extra steps that might be like a little bit embarrassing, that we just don't want to have to deal with. It's just like a little bit of a trap in our mind. So don't, just think about that, you know, maybe, and try not to get too stuck in that little trap, you know. And if you are, or you think maybe you are, then if you have the ability, you know, get out of your state, get out of your city, get out of your area, go to your friend's house, go to the beach, you know, go somewhere, be as alone as you can in a different place, and understand what you have the ability to do, and then bring that back home. Okay? God bless. Bye.